nourishment from coming together in Sangha and community. I want you to like kind of sense what that nourishment is for you as we move on, um, and kind of sense that there is a particular like value to coming together, right, to support your own individual practice. Like both are important. Right view. Let's dive in. Um, it's an interesting example I was sharing with you guys. Um, let me start with this. This is from the novelist Terry Pratchett. It's from a novel called I Shall Wear Midnight. It's important that we know where we come from, because if you do not know where you come from, then you don't know where you are. And if you don't know where you are, you don't know where you're going. And if you don't know where you're going, you're probably going wrong. The Buddha talked about right view. The Pali term is samaditthi, samaditthi. And the samaditthi is really reflects the transformation of perception that results from living the Dharma. So this is beyond belief. Although, when we first start to practice, oftentimes, we might like study the Eightfold Path, and it can be helpful to have, like, say, in the beginning, right view be guided by, say, belief, or a better way of saying believing, I think, might be like your frame of reference. And so, yeah, like the Eightfold Path are really useful guides, and we can really understand them intellectually, and that understanding can take us really far. But then we also understand that there's limitations when our view hasn't been grokked experientially. That's why I love this practice so much, is because these we're asked not to just believe, but to actually know. And so we can have confidence in our capacity to have a knowing that is ethically attuned, that is that is a view that, I know in my own practice, like the maturity of my view, I can most capture it, I think, in my capacity to understand or see it from other views without curating my own response, or like how I really think and feel in response to that. It's this capacity to just take on different views, but also to really understand, your view as well. And ultimately, with right view, we have this right perception, and it's not right wrong. That's not really what it is at all. It's more, I like a better term, is bright view. Like a bright view. It's a clarity about the foundations of our thinking. And that clarity, that awareness of the foundations of our thinking, I don't know how it's like the magic of mindfulness. But when we understand the foundations of our thinking, when we have a realization about the foundations of our thinking, then our view is one in which that supports a way of living and being of like non-harm, or of benefit. Looking at a situation, what's going to be of ultimate benefit here? Yeah, and so kind of being able to sense what that is. Um, I'll give an example, like from, a recent experience I had that's really personal. Like I think I might have talked about it, having like a rupture with my mom. And so I'm going to backtrack to that moment. It was like a couple weeks ago. And as it sometimes happens, right? It happened right before Dharma talk meditation. And I'm not going to get into the particulars of what happened because, like, although we're drawn to hear about that, it's also wise, right, to realize that to like focus on the particulars is actually not necessary here. And it's not necessarily like wholesome to get all up in the like the drama of it, which is fun though, you know, like I get that. But we had a disagreement basically, like, well, not a disagreement so much as she had let me know a boundary like that she was establishing for herself, and that boundary pissed me off. You know, the boundary like made me mad because I was like, my story about her was, you're so selfish. You're so selfish. You only think about yourself. And hasn't it always been that way? But I mean, this is valid, right? Like I listen to myself, like, and I let my mom know, which is in alignment with right view. My perspective being like, you know, I'm not going to pretend like I'm okay with this because I know that that's what you need to be okay. I'm actually willing to share with you like what my true feelings are about this, even though I know you're not going to be happy with that. I know you're not going to like that I don't like your boundary. I mean, it's, you know, she can totally draw it and I can have issue with it. She didn't call it a boundary, but I'll call it that. And so looking at it, like once I simmered down, because I was angry, once that came down, and I think part of right view is understanding that a view that is drunk on reactivity is not wise view or right view. Don't trust any view that you have when you're drunk on your own reactivity. Meaning, if you've got cortisol running through you, if you're like, your anger is good, it can tell you, like, you know, it can tell you a lot about what matters to you. But, you know, I went ahead and just like, you know, and be it on text message too, which I know better and I still did it. You know, just roar, I roared at her via text message and she got pissed off back, right? Which is what happens. And I had when I took a step back, I was like, actually, like that was not wise for me to do. And so processing it, you know, my view started to expand and it started to open up to other multiple perspectives. What is it like to be my mom? Where is she coming from here? Now, it's important that because something that I did my whole life was sort of bypass my own view, not even know what my own feelings or thoughts were, and instead just take on the other's view as being the most important thing. Like, you know, and I'm not going to upset you, you know, and I'm going to do all that business. So I'm not talking about that. But it's like I knew what my feelings and thoughts were, and now I could go and kind of see what was her view here. How does this impact my sister who is on the thread? Okay, so I'm holding, like and I can, and it's this ability to see all of this without shaming yourself. But this is part of impact. If I just make it about me, my view is only self-centered view, right? You know, the impact of a self-centered view is harmful sometimes, especially a self-centered view that doesn't take multiple views. And this is adults. Kids are just do that. They're psychologically incapable of having anyone be the center of the universe but them, you know. That's just, but when we're adults, we can start to open up the view and we can see the folly that happens in our own personal lives with ourselves and with other folks who are really attached to their self-centered view, or we can see it on a broad scale, right? With political leaders, other leaders. So we want to think about going from cherished assumptions to rigorous thinking. Oh, so what I ended up doing is, reaching out to my mom and letting her know that the way that I unleashed on her was absolutely inappropriate. And that was, must have been hard to have, me just let loose on her the way I did. It wasn't that bad, but for me it was like, it must have shocked her, because it's a new dynamic, in my relationship with her, where I get to take up more space inside of it. But I did need to go and clean that up and say, and right, so I didn't do it right. I also really, I want you to understand my feelings, like where I'm coming from here. So that part, right, but it was coming from, it was important. And I wasn't trying to make her wrong or me right. It was just, it's like, let me hear more about your perspective. Let me tell you about my perspective. And from that place, peace is really possible. So we move from cherished assumptions to rigorous questioning. A lot of times that starts with us, right? We have cherished assumptions, they get activated, and then if we don't question them, right? If we don't question them, it's hard to question anything that's cherished. So it's important to see that we're cherishing, just to bring awareness to it. I can't emphasize enough the value of awareness, the wisdom of awareness, And so noticing, wow, I'm really attached to this view. This is a really cherished view. I really feel right here. Yeah, and this is not about like loosening up on your integrity, or like not saying what it is that you really think and feel. Like that's not the kind of peace I'm talking about. I'm talking about a kind of peace that has deep understanding. It doesn't excuse something that's not right. It doesn't excuse something that is not, it doesn't invalidate experience. So this is from Tricycle, and I liked this. Did I say this at the very, no, I didn't. Our thoughts about these things affect our daily decisions and relationships deeply, and we would make better decisions in all aspects of our lives if we were clearer about the foundations of our own thinking. I think I did say this, but this kind of clarity is hard to arrive at without friends, teachers, and sometimes enemies. But this kind of, because, okay, so there's something kind of not so hot about always being with like-minded thinkers. There's a lot of folly in that, actually, these days, given like our algorithms and stuff. It's like, if I just hang out with people who think like me, right, we know where that can go. And it's not good. So this type of clarity is impossible to arrive at because you can't see it without friends, teachers, and sometimes enemies. It can take a political crisis, for instance, to make us articulate our real thoughts about what society should be or what true leadership is. So after we become aware of our views, I'm going to ask you a few questions in a moment to kind of just for you to ponder, to illuminate maybe some views you didn't notice you had. This is so true for racism, right? Like, we have to be really honest about what comes up for us when we see, right, somebody, and something that's someone who's Black, someone who is like an indigenous person of color, like whatever our thing is, we have to be aware that it's arising. We can't like be ashamed of it. At the same time, we can't just like ignore it because it'll run the show. This is really important here around, equity and, sexes, all the isms. It has to do with not shaming ourselves for the views that we have, but rather being willing to really question the views that we have. And I'll notice a view just arising in my body. Yeah, and it's like, I'm so grateful for the heightened awareness that we've all had around, issues of racial inequality and racism and white privilege and preciousness and being so delicate and all of that stuff. Because I'm like able to go, oh God, I didn't even see that. Right? And now I can see it and I can talk to my kids about it. Both my white privileged kids, can talk to them about like the filters with which we have to be aware when they're arising. Because if we're not aware of them, we will act out of them. We'll think they're true if we don't see them. Shame doesn't serve, being ashamed of our views, our racist views, isn't helpful. It doesn't help. Like there's no shame. Every human has this not every human, but we're doing this thing, and it's like it's not personal. We've been sort of swimming in this like stew, or we've been swimming in this water, and we want to like start to see it. We can't see it if we're ashamed. Yeah, we can't see it if we're ashamed. That's why there's nothing more I really can say about that except for be compassionate when shame arises, but, also know that it's arising so that we're less likely to get caught up in it. We can talk about it. Let me see. So here are some different, a new set of questions we might ask ourselves when we're sort of thinking about something or like problem solving. And these kinds of questions can help us open up our view. And then we'll talk about practice. When I look at data, what is it that I expect to find? And what surprises me? What am I explaining away? What am I avoiding? What would happen if I shifted one core assumption? Whose perspectives am I not considering? What voices am I not listening to? Who else could I invite to look at this problem with me? A supplier, a customer, a frontline employee? A poet, a philosopher, a psychologist, a spiritual guide? Just questions to ask that can help us, like these inquiries open the mind. Inquiries don't demand an answer. The question allows the answer to emerge. Remembering this distinction with inquiry. Anything else I wanted to mention before I just talk about these three aspects of practice, and then we'll sit. I wanted to mention this in the one of the suttas of the Buddha when he was talking, or they were talking about right view. The Buddha describes samaditthi not as a guiding theory, but as the transformation, I already mentioned this, I'm going to mention again, of perception that results from living the Dharma. Eventually in practice, as you practice more and more, right view naturally awakens. It just naturally awakens. And it's really trustworthy, and you can kind of sense it. It's like, it's often not, if a decision needs to be made, it's like this capacity, you can't help but look at multiple views. And then that kind of pushing towards, like, it was like, I didn't really want to see my mom's view. I didn't. But there was this, but I couldn't help it. Because that's it's the devotion that I have to the truth, or it's the devotion I have to love, or it's the devotion I have to my practice. Like I could see how like, oh, I don't want to, I don't want to. But then just doing it anyway. This is practice. So I want to talk about 3 essential aspects of practice and right view. And really our mindfulness practice today, our seated practice, will be kind of steeped in insight practice, vipassana practice, because it is this awareness married to compassion that that results, like the transformation of perception results from. Meister Eckhart wrote about humility, which is the first thing that we want to think about. I'm thinking of Marilyn. You mentioned this not too long ago. Be willing to be a beginner every single morning. So it's this humility, being willing to be a beginner, being willing to be wrong, or being willing to be right and fight for something. Yeah, just, it's also being willing and not being complicit. 2, not knowing mind. Like, I don't know actually. I don't know. I don't know why this is all happening. I don't know what it all means. That's none of my business, actually. What is my business is how I think, how I act, and whether those actions are like supported by wisdom and kindness or not. That's my business. Yeah? And so not knowing mine, I don't know where it's all going, right? Refusing to be kind of overwhelmed by how bad it is. Number 3, or how good it is, refusing not to be deluded by how good it is, right? And getting kind of like, this is the best thing ever. This is like, this is going to get rid of your anxiety for the rest of your life. Not knowing, not knowing. And I don't know where it's all going. Trust in our capacity to accept, this is number 3, reality, and see clearly what needs to be done and choose what is not harmful, right? We can really nourish and keep cultivating through our practice and through taking refuge in the Dharma, the Buddha, the Dharma, the Sangha. Yeah, so having our own practice, but also coming together and, having both seated practice, but also, studying, trust in our capacity. We can really trust that we have this inherent bright view as part of our makeup. And then ultimately, sometimes it's like I like to think about what's the least harmful collectively. Yeah, like collectively for the whole group. What's the least, what's gonna, like in a family system, for example. And it always includes me, right? It always includes me. But I still, will, if Sully's got to get somewhere and, it may not be like convenient for me or I have the energy to do it or whatever because I've got a busy day, but it's like I'm the only option, I'm doing it, big view. Because for me, it balances everything like it's, I think of the whole system. Any questions before we practice? I need to leave for an appointment. Oh, you're welcome, Ruth. Yeah. Ruth need to leave for an appointment. Go ahead and let's sit together. And as I always do at this juncture, your donations really make a difference. Can't do these if I'm not getting donations. Just doesn't make, this is my livelihood. So I appreciate that. And if you're watching this on the replay, there's a button beneath the video where you can make a donation. And So start with the posture. If you're in a chair, it's good to put both feet on the floor for stability. And also, if we think about the body, right, like circulation, I'm not crossing the limbs, I'm allowing the freedom of circulation to happen in my legs. If you usually practice with eyes closed meditation, just for today, I invite you to practice with eyes open so that we have a view not just of what's in here, but there's also sort of taking in of what's out there, but we're not focusing on anything in particular. Gaze is at about a 45-degree angle. The eyes are slightly open. And the body can really be at ease. And yet there's an alertness that's inherent to the spine, so we take the back away from the back of the chair. Unless we need the support of the chair for like physical reasons, which totally take care of that. You have sort of like a chronic condition where, you know, it affects your energy and it affects your ease in the body, then you take care of that any way you need to. This is from Mary Oliver. Who made the world? Who made the swan and the black bear? Who made the grasshopper? This grasshopper, I mean, the one who has flung herself out of the grass. The one who's eating sugar out of my hand, who's moving her jaws back and forth instead of up and down, who's gazing around with her enormous and complicated eyes. Now she lifts her pale forearms and thoroughly washes her face, and now she snaps her wings open and floats away. I don't know exactly what a prayer is. I do know how to pay attention, how to fall down into the grass, how to kneel down in the grass, how to be idle and blessed, how to stroll through the fields, which is what I've been doing all day. Tell me, what else should I have done? Doesn't everything die at last and too soon? Tell me, what is it you plan to do with your one wild and precious life? The body is an anchor. To be in this body is more than enough. Right here and right now. When we notice that we get more complicated, we start getting more noun than verb. We can come back to the refuge of our bodies. the refuge of the body at ease. We are supervising our awareness. We're not judging what awareness notices, evaluating it. If awareness notices that you've lost your body, begin again. Humility and beginner's heart-mind are essential. Lest we feel like we're just doing it all wrong. With not knowing, we remember we don't have to know where it's all going or figure it all out, not right now. When it starts to get complicated, the body starts to tighten, just relax and come back to this not knowing in the body, being at ease with that. We can at this point just explore a little bit more the terrain of perception. So just that we're kind of in touch with right now as we've sort of settled together into our bodies. You might notice the terrain of your thinking mind. Is it rocky, edgy, harsh, critical? Compassionate, soft? You might sense is linear time, does it feel really dense? Or does it feel more spacious? Do you feel like you have enough time? Just inquiring right now into aspects of view and aspects that can affect view. What would it be like to take on a softer view of yourself? A more gentle view? A view that is more considerate of your strength? In other words, that's really trusting that whatever is going to happen, you'll be able to handle it. So you can rest here now. Lean towards what feels more spacious, loving, in these last few moments, we'll bring a hand to our chest. We'll offer the blessings of Metta. We'll chant them. We'll chant them for I, for you, and for we. There may be someone in particular that you'd really like to share some blessings, like you want to share some kindness and some care. And that would be for the you. Taking a deep breath in. May I be filled with loving kindness. May I be well. May I be peaceful and at ease. May I be happy. May I be filled with loving kindness. May I be well. May I be peaceful and at ease. May I be happy. May I be filled with loving kindness. May I be well. May I be peaceful and at ease. May I be happy. May you be filled with loving kindness. May you be well. May you be peaceful and at ease. May you be happy. May you be filled with loving kindness. May you be well. May you be peaceful and at ease. May you be happy. May you be filled with loving kindness. May you be well. May you be peaceful and at ease. May you be happy. May we be filled with loving kindness. May we be well. May we be peaceful and at ease. May we be happy. May we be filled with loving kindness. May we be well. May we be peaceful and at ease. May we be happy. May we be filled with loving kindness. May we be well. May we be peaceful and at ease. May we be happy. You can just gently lift your gaze, start to take in your space, orienting, and then we'll orient to each other. Hi. So, as we close, I have a hand up. Who would that be? It's Tina. Yes, Tina. You don't know? Okay. Beautiful. I wanted to mention, and I wanted to have the name of it, and now I was trying to Google it. There's on Netflix, there's a documentary about, it was actually done, it's about the Ukraine. It has to do with like 2015 was when it came out. But I highly recommend just watching that, because part of right view is also, which we'll talk about next time, right understanding. I mean, we can't really have compassion for something we don't understand. And if we're not going through it directly, we can get a little uncomfortable and watch it indirectly. Yeah, so you can get uncomfortable with me It's not comfortable to watch, but it's something, that's really valuable. We just can't let something like that take us into like, oh, it's all going to hell in a handbasket. Like, let it inspire compassionate, action and relationships with those that you are in contact with, for the benefit of everyone. Takeaways. And again, thank you for your donations. I really appreciate them. Next week, we'll be meeting at 10 a.m. PT again, and we'll be talking about, I'm going to be exploring the Eightfold Path in these Dharma talks. So today we talked about right view. We will talk about right and practice right understanding next time, unless there's something else I feel like is more important to cover. There's always that caveat. Yeah, good, Anna. I don't have to know beginner's mind. Yeah, good, Anna. So good for us all to know, all to remember moment by moment, because we don't know. We don't know. We only know what's right in front of us. Yeah? And how do we relate to this with kindness so as not to cause harm and to even be of benefit? Yeah, you're welcome, Marilyn. All right, lovely, lovely Sangha. Hope to see you in class. I'll be teaching yoga this week, my usual classes, and I'll be back here next week. And I will not be here the last week of the month. That would be the 29th, but I will be here next week. And I'll send out like something to support your practice for the week that I'm gone. All right, because I am going to be gone the last week of this month. Blessings to you. You can take yourself off mute and say goodbye, and then I'll end the meeting.
Bye all.
Bye.
Blessings, everyone.
Have a beautiful day. Yeah, take this with you.